Hi guys, you're welcome back to my channel. In this video I'll be showing you how to make a fitted straight gown. So this is just the lower part. I've drafted the upper bodies already. So now, since it's a continuation of a gown, so I'll only start from the waistline, and my waistline is 17.5. So I'm starting from 17.5 down to the hemming of the gown. So, and the whole length is 60 inches. So that's why I'm having the full length, but I'm sorry the video doesn't cover everything. So I've measured the 60, and now from the waistline to my hip line, so which is 13 inches, you know, it's the waist to the hip, 13 inches, so it's longer than the normal skirt and hip line. So I've rolled the 13 inches. So on the waistline now, I'll fix in my waist circumference divided by 4, which is 7, because waist is 28 divided by 4, 7, then plus 2 inches for seam allowance. Then on the hip also, the hip measurement is 9.5 plus 2 inches. So note, this is a lace material, so I'm not fixing that anyway. So the same measurement I put on the hip line, I'm taking it to the hemming. Sorry, this is satin first, so I will use the same satin to cut the lace. Okay, hope you understand. So I'm drafting on the satin in order to cut the lace. So now I'm connecting the hip line to the hemming, as you can see. So this is the normal straight line. This is the actual way we're supposed to cut this, but in order for this to be fitted, I'll be going in by 1.5 inch, 1.5 inches. Then I will now connect it to the hip line, as you can see. So I went in by 1.5 inches and connected to the hip line. So I've cancelled out the other one, so I'm only going to make use of the unshaded part. I hope we understand. So now I'm connecting the hip line now to the waistline using this curve because of the hip shape. Then on the waistline, I'm adding 1/2 inch joining allowance in order to join it to the bodies, upper bodies. Okay, so this is what we have. I'll go ahead and measure the back piece too. So I left a space of about 2 inches at the center there, and also the margin which serves as the waistline on top. So now on the waistline, first thing first, so I measured the same 13 inches for hip line, as you can see. So from the waist to my hip, as per the gown, so it's 13 inches. Okay, so now after locating that space on the waistline, I measure 1 inch. Please just watch the video carefully for better understanding. I measure 1 inch on the waistline, so I'm going to connect this 1 inch directly to the hemming or somewhere before the hemming. Okay, this is to help remove excesses on at the back. Okay, it's to help the dress to fit well at the back. I did the same thing to the upper part, so it's a continuation. Okay, so I measure 1 inch on the waistline and connect it slightly to the hemming or almost to the hemming. Okay, so after that, yes, definitely we're going to trim that part out, so that's why I have to shade it. So after this, now I'm starting the main measurement. Then I'll measure 1 inch for zipper allowance. So this 1 inch is I'm going to measure down 1 inch on, I'll measure it along that line. So I'm not going to just measure on the waistline and connect it anyway. So there must be 1 inch allowance all through till the hemming. So that's why I have to take my time, measure the 1 inch and connect the dotted line or the marked lines carefully. This for the zipper. Okay, that's the zipper allowance. Okay, so now after this is done, I'll now go ahead and fix in the body measurement. So on the waistline, I'll be fixing my waist circumference divided by 4 again, which is 7 and 2 inches for seam allowance. Then on the hip also, on the hip line, I'll be fixing in my hip circumference divided by 4, which is 9.5 plus 2 inches seam allowance. Then I'll connect the hip line to the waistline, just like so. Then like we did early on the front pattern, the same measurement I have on the hip line, I'll take it to the hemming also, okay, which is 9.5 plus 2.5 plus 2 inches. So I'll connect it with a straight line, which is the standard for a straight gown or a straight skirt. So now, in order to achieve our fitted dress, I'll be going in by 1.5 inch again. So this 1.5 inch is just to reduce excesses from the dress towards the down part. Okay, so by doing this, the gown will come out more fitted and elegant, you understand? So you won't just be seeing bag everywhere. Okay, so I have to shade this out because we're not going to use it any longer. So now this is what we have. So in order to create my slit, I took a measurement of my gown knee length. That's from the shoulder down to your knee length. So my gown knee length is around this part, I think is that 40, yeah, like 41. So from your gown knee length, I just remove like 3 inches upward. So I end up marking about 38 inches instead of that 41. I measure about 38 and I mark the place. Then I'll come to the hemming. I measure about 1.5 because the slit is going to be overlap type. It's not just going to be open. So I measure that 1.5 inch, just the way I'm doing right now. Then I stopped at that 38 inches from the shoulder. Okay, so this one will help me to create an overlap vent at the back. So I don't want it to be open. So this is what we have. So you go ahead. So just watch the way I cut this out also. Notice the way I cut the vent with the allowance, and also at the waistline I'll be adding 1/2 inch for joining allowance to the upper bodies. Okay, so we'll also cut that out, and note the way I cut the other side also out. So if you follow this method, you surely have a fitted dress. So this is the lace material that I'll be using for the style. So because of the design at the down of the lace, I won't be needing the hemming allowance, so that's why I folded in the hemming allowance on the satin, which I will definitely cut off while joining this material. So as you can see, this is the back also with the vents that we'll be creating, and I did the same thing also for the back, folded in 2 inches for the hemming allowance. So this is the upper bodies. Sorry, I didn't show the video of how I created my upper bodies. I have some videos on maybe off shoulder or princess dark, so I just use one of it. This is actually an off shoulder, so I just use one of it, the satin, and I'll use the same satin to cut the other one. So thank you guys for watching. Bye.